Game over. It is game over.
Game over, cancer.
I'm Val Solomon, Director of Program Impact at Cannonball Kids Cancer Foundation.
And I'm Dana Nichols, Executive Director of CKC.
Game Over, Cancer, a podcast dedicated to exploring conversations about pediatric cancer research, solutions, and inspiring family stories.
We're a nonprofit dedicated to creating innovative treatment options for kids fighting cancer and educating for change.
By creating a space for these conversations, we empower the community to take action and provide tangible hope.
Game over, cancer. Screw you, cancer.
Today's episode is all about taking the one step you can.
We are talking with someone who has turned her life into, just being your most authentic self and being able to be successful at it financially and professionally and personally.
Exactly. And whether or not you know it, your life has probably been impacted because she has revolutionized, her company has revolutionized greeting cards. So if you've gotten a greeting card anytime recently, there's a chance that you either have one of her cards or the messages you're getting these days are completely impacted by the work that she's done. So
Absolutely. We're really excited because she has agreed to come out here with us in September and be at our Ripple Effect. And so today is a small taste of the magic that's going to happen on September 3rd at our Ripple Effect luncheon with our keynote speaker, Emily McDowell. In 2012, Emily founded the stationery brand M & Friends as Emily McDowell Studio, writing and illustrating all its products and serving as its CEO. In 2015, its empathy cards, a more honest and supportive alternative to traditional sympathy cards, became an international news story and catalyzed a sea change to the greeting card industry. She's the co-author of There's No Good Card for This, What to Say and Do When Life Gets Scary, Awful, and Unfair to People You Love. She's the author of the Subject to Change newsletter and is currently an advisor, coach, and thought partner for creative entrepreneurs and product business owners. Also, she is the keynote for our beloved 2026 Ripple Effect Luncheon. So we are beyond jazzed.
so excited.
Today, she's joining us to talk about creativity, imperfection, and why you don't have to have everything figured out before you get started. Total CKC and total Ripple Effect. And please welcome Emily McDowell. Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's so good to be here.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited.
We're excited.
We use those cards all the time.
We do because we work in a field where there is tough conversations, tough cards, and we want people to know that we remember the anniversary of their child's passing, or we, have these thoughts in mind for them, and what are we going to say? And we want to say something. We're not going to say nothing.
Right. And there's no good card for that.
Which is what the card says that you made that we keep in our office for the things we're going to send anyways. So thank you for being here with us. We are just going to... Yeah, we're just going to go all the way back, though. So you actually go viral on the internet, in the internet of yesteryear, but with a Valentine's Day card. So talk about how that got going and what that set into motion for you.
Yeah. So in 2012, I was freelancing in advertising. I had been working for about 10 years as a copywriter, creative director. And I'd quit my full-time job and I was thinking about what the next thing was going to be, but I really didn't know. And I started to sell prints of my illustrations, my hand lettering, which was like not a thing the way that it became a thing at the time. It was still pretty unique, and started selling that stuff on Etsy. And what I really wanted to do, and it did well. I made about $40,000 the first year, and I was like, what? This is amazing. And so it was, supplementing my income. And I kept thinking that I wanted to make greeting cards, but I didn't know anything about production. I didn't really know anything about business in terms of having my own. And so I couldn't wrap my head around making something and like selling something that cost $5 when I could sell something that cost $30. Like, it was like, wow, I'd have to sell so many more greeting cards. And so I didn't do it. And then in early 2013, I had an idea for a card that I just couldn't ignore. And I felt like, I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I'm going to make 50 of these. I'm going to find a printer and do it. And I know that if it meets this audience, these are going to sell, and I'll figure it out as I go. And the card was something that didn't exist at the time, which was a card for the person you're kind of dating, but not really. And so on Valentine's Day, the options were in 2012 to get them a card that was like really gushy and like sort of loving and Valentine-y, and give it to them with a speech that was like, hey, this isn't that big of a deal, but I just wanted to give you something, And that was really awkward. Or you could just do nothing, and then that was potentially also really awkward. And so I thought, what if I make a card that is that speech, that is that, like, it's long and it's awkward and it says, like, I know we're not like together or anything, but it felt weird to not say anything. So I got you this card. It doesn't even have a heart on it, really. It's just a card saying hi. And then in tiny letters, it said, forget it at the bottom. And I put that card on Etsy, and Etsy put it on their Facebook page. And that was back in the day of Facebook, when no one was trying to extract everything from you at all times.
Right.
And it was just like, you could follow a brand and you would see their posts, and you could follow anyone and see their posts. It was really wild. And so a lot of people.
What was that like?
Yeah.
And it became Etsy's most liked and shared post of that entire year. And so this was in January of 2013. And so I had 1 week in which to sell this card before I had to cut off shipping, because I launched it at the end of January. And that was my first lesson in business, which is, if you're going to sell something for a holiday, give it enough time, because there's a whole thing that I didn't think about, which was the time it took to ship something to a customer to get it to them before Valentine's Day. So I had a week, and in that week, I sold 1,700 of that card one by one. And I just kept calling the printer and saying, like, I need more, I need more. And I was driving around. I didn't have time to buy envelopes wholesale. And so I was driving around to all the paper sources in the Los Angeles area and just buying them out, And I had recruited friends and my partner and my partner's 8-year-old son to just, pack and ship and all the things. And so that crazy viral moment was a proof of concept for something that didn't exist yet in the greeting card industry, which was a really honest take on very common situations that up until then hadn't really been addressed by greeting cards. Greeting cards were, at the time, and there were a couple brands that were doing things here and there for sure. But for the most part, at that time, greeting cards were still very much aspirational. Like, they were for the relationships we wished we had and not the relationships we actually have. And so that was the mission of when I launched Em & Friends, or it was originally called Emily McDowell Studio, was to create cards for the relationships we actually have.
Yeah.
Just hearing the story is, number one, it's like a nice walk down memory lane, right, to what the internet used to be like, but also, to hear you talk about, taking something and making it just feel more authentic, and bringing the honesty to it, and how that was actually revolutionary, right? And we talk a little bit here or there about like something that's just so simple, just like one small thing. It's just a little bit different. Let's just look at it a different way, but it stands out and it resonates with people. And I think that's one of the things that we love about those cards, but it's also, as we're looking at other things you've done too, you can see that track of authenticity and honesty in other parts of your career. And we wondered if you could talk a little bit about the role that authenticity plays, in your life and in your career. And it feels like that's one example of how you tapped into it. And, if you wanted to share with the audience a little bit more about that, would be cool.
Yeah, of course. I don't know how to not be me. Like, it for better or for worse, this is what you get. So, really, one aspect of the thread of authenticity throughout my career is that I am incapable of presenting myself as something that I'm not, or doing work that um, doesn't feel authentic to me and to my experiences and to what I would like to say to the world. So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is that I think, and I always have felt, that our culture, and particularly in the last 15 years with the rise of social media, there are it's damaging to everyone to present a polished, fake, untrue version of what life is like. And we have all of the science to back it up now, and all of the evidence to back it up now. And I've always felt an authenticity, with that word, it's like it's kind of a trend now. And it's like there's the performance of authenticity has become a thing, which is also bizarre. But for me, I've always believed that human connection is the cure for everything. And human connection is not possible without authenticity.
Yeah. I think it speaks so deeply to, I mean, certainly a lot of what I believe, but also a lot of why we as Cannonball Kids are here, right? Even this idea of parents walking into a world where their kids get diagnosed and they knew nothing about it. And I think at the same time, there is so much out there that is showing, online people's journeys through cancer. To see it without the glitz and glitter and of it all is like, wait a second, the reality doesn't match what I'm told, doesn't what is happening here. And then we still have to use all these fighter and warrior and brave and all these words that resilient that like authentically, yeah, but also what's the choice? So like, how do we break down all of that to the truth of kids deserve better? So we have to invest in it, and talk about that in a real way and say, a lot of times we get into conversation where we're like, you don't want to hear about this. You don't want to hear about this reality. These families are living it. So this is, the least you can do and, measure all those things out to be true and real.
For sure. For sure. I mean, my experience with Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 24 really brought into focus the importance of being able to honestly talk and share about what was actually going on, and how challenging that is in a culture that doesn't learn how to talk about hard things.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you talk? I mean, I even have my own personal experiences to that. So without making it the Dana podcast, but I always talk about the story in my family where, I had a breast cancer diagnosis. So one of my aunts had called me and was talking to me, and she said, "Oh, your dad had called," and blah blah blah. And then when I used the word mastectomy, she said, "Wait, what?" And I was like, well, you said dad talked to you. And he said, oh, you were having some lady problems. I was like,
Oh my God.
oh, I was like, okay, so generationally we have this gap where we're not saying the hard things. Culturally, we have this gap. We're not saying the hard things. I've walked into this terrible conversation, and at least we're having a conversation. It was just like all of those layers of what you're saying so quickly falling apart in one phone call. And I was like, oh, this sucks. And I think about our families, like with kids who have cancer, or to be a young adult. I mean, I probably was a good 10, 12 years older than you at 24, and that's happening. And trying to navigate that is so hard.
It's really hard. It's really hard. And I really know how that feels, where you have one phone call or one conversation where before that phone call, you believed one thing about the world. And then it's like this, you can have one conversation that is like, you come out of it with this disillusionment that wasn't there before. This like thing that you know that you can't unknow. That's like, oh, this is how most people in the world are navigating. Like, this is the capacity that people have to navigate this. And it is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think making a choice to make a business about it, to try and give people tools to make a different conversation is like, again, like going back to all the buzzwords I just listed, but like that's brave because you're putting something out there that, yes, is authentically you and how you would speak, but people have to choose to step up to engage with it and not buy the pretty shiny card that says everything happens for a reason and everything's fine. So what pushed you to be like, no, I know that people are going to look for this if they can?
Well, one of the things that I learned is that through my own experience, and then through an experience that I had about 10 years later when my former college roommate was diagnosed with cancer that they still never found the origin of, and she died a few months later. And it was really terrible and in all the ways. And that was the first time that I was on the other side of it, where I was close to someone who was sick. And because I had been through cancer, a very different kind of cancer, but because I had been in this world in some way, our mutual friends were like, what do I do? What do I say? How can I connect with her? And I realized that my experience had given me the capacity in some way to be sort of a cancer translator or an illness translator. And it was the first time that I was like, oh, there is a huge gift in here. And what I learned through that experience was that people really want to support. People really want to be authentic, and they don't know how to express themselves, and they don't know. People are scared to say the wrong thing. People are scared to make it worse. Um, there is a belief that we have in our culture that there's like one right thing to say, and if you can't find those words, then people get all twisted up about it and nervous and don't say anything. And nobody wants that. It feels terrible. And so I felt pretty confident that I was not only creating something that would make people who are going through something hard feel seen and heard, but also that I was giving a tool to the loved ones in their life to be able to say what they could say if they could find the words for it.
I think it's so moving the way you talk about helping people find the words to say, that they connect with the intention that they have, that they just can't get out. And whether that's, convincing ourselves that we'll make it worse, or that, we just need to figure out the perfect thing to say, that we can come up with a million different reasons to drop out and not show up for other people.
Yeah.
And giving folks a tool to be able to be able to overcome that is so moving. I think it's why you've been so successful. What do you think people are is there something people are most afraid to say out loud, or do you think they think they'll mess it up? Like, do you think the fear comes from, I don't know what to say, or I'm afraid to say what I mean, or I'm sure I'm just going to mess up the delivery, right? What do you
Right.
think it is?
I think all three. I think it's a really cool combo of all three, honestly. I think that, people have an expectation of themselves that they should be able to come in and like be Oprah and like say an inspiring thing that's going to make it better. There's a belief that most people have, which is a direct result of the culture that we are raised in, that there is something that you can say that will make their situation better, or that there's something like there are magical words that will help to heal that person if they could just hear the right words. And part of what my book that I wrote with the empathy researcher, Dr. Kelsey Crow, part of what it's about is there is no magic thing to say. And so in a way, it takes the pressure off because there's literally nothing you can say that's going to take someone's pain away. And that's not what they want from you. They want your presence. And, and so it makes that whole job much easier when you're not trying to achieve pain removal for someone who's just lost a child, or for someone whose spouse or child has been diagnosed with cancer, or for someone who themselves, has been diagnosed. Like, you don't need to come up with some pearl of wisdom. And that's what leads to platitudes, is because people lean on these, like, everything happens for a reason stuff, because it like sounds good until you're in it, and then it sounds horrible. So,
Right.
Yeah. I've always
so
felt
yeah, yeah.
that type of comment or thought process makes the person saying it feel better.
Right.
Maybe not like if I just say it out loud, then maybe that'll be the case, right?
Right.
Like it'll be great, right?
Well, and I think, as a world too, like as a society, we're always trying to fix, like, so like
Mhm.
that's the other piece is like, what am I going to say to fix this? We got to get in and get out and keep moving. And I think that's especially whether, children's cancer or otherwise, but in cancer, it's very long if
Mhm.
someone is in treatment and hopefully surviving. And so I think that's the other piece of like, we have a hard time sitting in that messy middle where we
Mhm.
don't know how this is ending. And so like there's so much there that's like, ooh, time bomb, time bomb, time
Yeah,
bomb.
the
And like it's
uncomfortableness of it,
uncomfortable
yeah.
to not know the answer. It's uncomfortable to be in the middle. And if you are in treatment and it's taking a long time, you're like, wait, I already said that everything happens for a reason thing. What do I say next time? Right? I already used my one thing. So I think, that idea of like, release the pressure valve. You're not making anything better, but in a good way. It's
Yeah.
like a really beautiful
Like, it's easier
statement.
than you think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It takes me back to something we always say to each other, which we think publicly people don't like, which is you're not that important. You're not that special.
No one's
Like,
thinking of you.
no one's thinking about you. That's what we tell each other to like calm it all down. And then at the same time, and that to us is like, yeah, great. So I'm just going to show up.
Yeah.
This is not on the cards.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're selling any inspirational posts that say you're not that special.
We don't sell cards.
No, we don't.
Clearly.
We just talk to each other like that.
And, it's a double, it's two things at once, right? It's like you're not that special, and the impact that one person can have by doing something really small is also incredibly great. And all of, Dr. Crow's research, when we were putting our book together, she worked with a lot of people who had been through various really difficult things. And it was not the things that when they were asked the question, Name something that was incredibly meaningful and supportive, that felt um, amazing to receive. It was not the grand gestures, it was really small things. And often things that were so small that the person who did it may not have even clocked it or remembered it. You know what I mean? Or it felt like to the giver, like, "Oh, that was it?" Like, just that, like, the 10 minutes that I took to really listen to how you were feeling that day instead of just being like, "Oh, how are you? Oh, great. Okay, bye," or just a card that arrived at the right moment, or, any something small and simple that doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to require all kinds of time and thought and money and whatever else, that it's really those simple things that can have such an impact.
I think that so much of that exact idea is what led us into having a ripple effect luncheon, because I think you're saying that exactly right. You have no idea the impact you have on somebody. Just your one small action can make such a difference.
Mhm.
But we felt like we kept having people, and mostly a lot of times, 80% of the time, women coming to the
Mhm.
table going, I want to do something, I want to do something. And then also being crippled by that idea of like, what can I really do? What can I really accomplish? And like getting into that idea again of, am I going to make this perfect? Am I going to do the right thing perfectly?
Mhm.
And our end of the day thing is just take one step. Take that first step, take your first action. You don't need to know where it's going to go. You don't need to drop out of your life and go become an oncologist. Take one step. And what is that going to be? And if we all come together to do that, we're going to make a really beautiful impact. And so I think to me, obviously, that's why you're like the best keynote in the world, right? Like you're saying this thing that completely aligns, but you do write a lot about imperfection. Um, and we're trying to show people that in what we do, that like perfection is not required, it's out the door. But what do you think has convinced so many of us that we need to be perfect and ready to actually begin something?
All of our cultural conditioning. I mean, I think
The entire universe conspiring against us.
yeah, I mean, it's just everything we are surrounded by and the air we breathe. I think that especially as women, because women are judged so harshly by the world, I think that, you learn very early that if you're going to do something, it has to be up to a certain kind of, you know, basically impossible standard, or else it's just not worth doing. And I just did, in my own life, in my own story, I didn't know how to have a greeting card company. I hadn't taken math since 11th grade. Like, I didn't know anything. I knew things that I knew how to do were write and illustrate in a way that connected with people. And I knew how to build a brand, and, I had all this experience from advertising that was very instructive in terms of creating the products and creating products that resonated emotionally with people that they wanted to buy. But I didn't know anything about margins and manufacturing and sales and catalogs and wholesale and like all of the nuts and bolts of having a product business. I didn't know anything. And that was before. Now there's all kinds of courses and, information out there, and ChatGPT and like whatever, you can learn all that stuff. And at the time, I was just like Googling. Yeah, I used to joke that I had an MBA from Google, which was awesome because it was free, but it was also terrible because what I knew was wrong. And so it was just like that multi-year sort of, went going ongoing for the duration of owning a company, where you're trial and erroring a lot, and what was behind it though was the passion for what I was doing, and then behind that was the purpose. that I felt around my why, right? Like, why am I doing this? And on the days where I made huge financial mistakes, on the days where I just like, I was at my wit's end with a million things where I just wanted to walk away and like do anything else. Um, it was that purpose that kept me on task and that kept me going. And, people talk about doing what you're passionate about, and I love that. But passion also ebbs and flows. It's hard to be passionate when just lost $50,000 due to not knowing something that you didn't know. Right. And so, like, and so having that purpose, and I think that just starting with what you f what in you feels like it won't leave you alone, and what in you feels like, "I see and feel this problem in the world, and I want to do something to make it better." And it can be so small. Like, you can start with the smallest thing and start with something that just feels easy to do and achievable so that you have a really small win, right? Like, don't like take on don't say, I mean, I didn't say on day 1, I wanna be in the New York Times and on Irish Public Radio and like all these crazy things that were happening. It was, I'm gonna make this one card that I know is going to connect with this specific kind of person who needs it.
Mhm.
I love that idea of like, you have that idea you can't stop thinking about. Just take the step. Be scared, do it anyways, and see what happens. And then what are you doing along the way that's helping you keep going, where so that your passion and purpose can meet and can be consistent.
Right, right. And I think that, in some ways, it's taking this kind of action is the same as when people ask, "Well, what should I do for someone who is going through a hard thing?" Which is offer something that you can offer with love and joy. Like, don't ask what the person needs because they don't know. Offer most, and it's more labor and thinking, and it gets, for them to have to answer that question and to have to like manage you. They don't wanna manage you, they don't have the capacity. And so offer what you can offer with joy and love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think to be involved in anything, whether when that's people coming to the table in our organization or to help somebody is like so important to caveat with joy and love because you don't want to feel resentment or burnout or all these things that start to happen when we overreach or overextend ourselves and we feel like we're not showing up and making good. And so I know I've been there like, okay, well, I can do this and I can do this. I've come to a point, when there are people I want to reach out to that need help. I'm like, I can do X, Y, or Z. Do any of these sound good to you? And I think the other piece is if it doesn't, it usually springboards for them, okay, but could it be like this? And so I
Mhm.
think you just have to show up with that starting point and then be able to receive feedback
Mhm.
of, what your
Yes,
next step could be.
yes, and not make it about you, because it's not about you. It's not like you offered the wrong thing or, it's that the goal is that you wanna help this person, and this person is helping you understand how you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're talking about something that we don't get to talk about very often, just in our society, which is like, well, what do you do when you mess up? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just talking about it like it's an option and it's okay is one thing, right? I think that's
Yes.
beneficial. Like it's okay to mess up. But I think also letting people know that it's like, yeah, do the one small thing, think what you can offer, do it with love. And yeah, if it doesn't land, don't take it personal. It's not your fault, and
Right.
everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine, guys. I had a card that said so.
Feels like
And
you've
honestly, like,
circled back. Sorry, go ahead.
well, it just most of the time, the thing that the person is going to remember is not that you offered something that wasn't particularly helpful to them. It was that you had the care to offer in the first place. And, that's what it's about. Like, it's not about the thing as much as it is about knowing that there is someone who is thinking enough about you and cares enough about you to want to help and to offer something.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it just resonates going back to what you said earlier, which is like the thing that's probably going to have the biggest impact is the thing you won't even remember. Like, that time you did that thing for me. It's like, what I did, that sounds like me, but I don't remember that.
Yes. Yeah.
It really is the thing that stands out in people's memories.
That's awesome. I think to me, I just can't wait to hear you speak in our event in September. But what is exciting you about coming to our luncheon that you knew nothing about until we emailed you? But what's exciting about being in a room full of women talking about stuff you like to talk about?
Everything. I mean, I used to do a ton of speaking, and then the pandemic happened and stuff with my business changed, and I never and so I still do it, but I don't do it a lot. And so when I got this invitation, I was really excited, not just to be able to go and speak live in front of an audience, which I love to do, but that particularly in front of an audience of people who really get what I'm talking about, like, and have lived it. And it makes it so that I can go a little bit deeper and share some facets of my story that I don't necessarily share with every audience, and really coming into a community of folks who are really purpose driven around something that has also really affected me, and that and that, like, is really in my wheelhouse, feels so great. And I just feel super honored that you guys thought of me and invited me to come and share this time with you.
Well, that is the best thing we've heard all day,
Yeah.
right?
We're excited. And I think to your point, like, yeah, for us having this luncheon is about diving a little bit deeper, that, what's the one piece or thing you're going to take away from it. And I think everyone who's been to this event through the years is like, feels like magic in the room, but the magic is pretty simple. It's community, and it's actually being heard, and it's actually being spoken to like a human who can't do everything but can do something. And we're really excited that that's a space we bring people, but we hope, again, in that idea of the ripple effect, it's like, take that with you, make those spaces in other places too, because it's a simple formula for magic. It just seems like a bigger than.
Totally.
Well, but as we kind of close out, if people are wanting to learn more about Emily, and, follow along with your story, where should they go? What should they do?
Well, let's see. I have like three, no, maybe five, multiple careers going at the moment, which feels really great. I'm working with all these different facets of my experience and what I do. And so my emilyonlife.com is my website, but it is mostly focused around the consulting work that I do and the mentoring work that I do for product businesses. And so I think that the best place if you really want to read about me, if you want to kind of just learn about who I am as a person, and pick and choose what you can read, I would go to my Substack, which is emilymcdowell.substack.com. I've been on a bit of a hiatus for the last year and a half from writing there regularly. I have been navigating long COVID and Epstein-Barr since the end of 2024. And so something had to go. Many things had to go, really. And one of them was writing regularly in this newsletter. But there is a lot there in terms of kind of sharing my story. And um, I talk a lot about burnout and liminal space and, you know, middle age and that kind of stuff. Like, it's less about cancer per se and just more about life. Um, and then I've been on many podcasts, and there is a list on my website on emilyonlife.com that is, I think, not updated with the last couple of years, but it's fairly updated. It's extensive, and it goes back to the days of empathy cards. And so if you want to learn more about that period, or, anything more about the cards and the business and all of that, there are a bunch of media appearances and all kinds of things on my site.
Perfect.
Awesome. I feel like that's going to be where a lot of people head, because
Yes.
when I connect with somebody that has that honesty and the values, I kind of want to immerse myself in it. And so if you are just finding out who Emily is, you have a lot of stuff you can check out. It's amazing.
Isn't that the
Yes.
most fun when it's like, oh, I can binge this person?
Yeah.
So, go binge Emily. And then if you are listening and you want to be in the room with Emily and in community with women who are looking to make change, you can come to our Ripple Effect Luncheon. It is in September in Central Florida. And if you go to cannonballkidscancer.org, you can learn more about everything we do, and specifically about our Ripple Effect Luncheon and how to get involved.
Exactly. And we want to thank you for listening to Game Over Cancer. Did you know that if you leave a review, you help us reach more listeners? We would love for you to do that. And also check out our show notes, where we can link all the stuff that Emily was talking about, ways to connect with her. And we'll do that. So thank you for listening and helping us educate for change.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you joining us and making a commitment to be part of our fight. I'm Dana Nichols.
I'm Val Solomon.
And until next time, we will see
you later. Join us as we transform fear into courage and turn adversity into opportunities for change.
If you want to be involved in the conversations that create change in the world of pediatric cancer, take a moment, share, like, and subscribe. Absolutely.